my first experience in the subway when I moved here. I said hello to the first four people in the subway train. Apparently you don't do that here in New York. That was frowned upon. So at that moment, I made the change of me and the other. That's how I thought of it as me and the city. So connection can be scary and difficult. And not just for me, but there's people that this is also the same deal, but for them it's more extreme. And it's difficult when suicide is the third leading cause of death for young people aged 15 to 24 years old, when as many as 1 in 33 children and 1 in 8 adolescents suffer from clinical depression, when 13% of the overall US population is on antidepressants. So the issue really is that kindness and sharing has become difficult. In a random study I did with 50 people, 74% didn't consider themselves having stories worthy of sharing. And of the 26% that did, only 4% were under the age of 21. So people are seeing themselves or their experiences as being of importance to others. However, they all have more in common than they know. They're just not sharing it. So something led them to develop this closed-off nature. In that same study, I also asked the people, and 47% of them reported that they go months without interacting with family. That led to the insight there's a form of community bonding and daily routine missing. Love, loss, stress, longing. I know here in the crowd we've all felt that, as these people have too. But you can't relate, can you? So we're capable of helping each other, but we don't feel safe. So how do I get Manhattanites, some of you, to loosen up? So my thesis essentially is that I wanted to create an environment that encourages the sharing of thought and experiences that often go unsaid and unseen among strangers. So here's what I did about it. I took the less serious route. I set out to make kindness easy by creating a culture of sharing among strangers. And because New Yorkers love convenience, it had to be a low barrier way to interact. And it all started with this card. Because sometimes you can make big changes with little things. The card that had me become this random stranger and help people. So my two most impactful experiences I'll just talk to right now. My very first one was in the New York subway again, except this time I saw an old man and he looked lost in the subway. And everyone was walking right by, they were in their hurry, as you do in New York. And he needed help, so I walked up to the man and I found out he was very blind and very deaf. So I helped the man get on the train and find his right stop. And on the way there, he was writing a note. Pressed to his face, because he's really blind. For 40 seconds, we rode the train. Next stop, he gets off and hands me the note. The note said, "Bless you." That was my first experience. And my second was my most intense and jarring. I met a man on the Lower East Side in his 20s, and he looked like he was having the worst day of his life. I mean, face down, gray clouds. And so at this point, I become really good at talking with people, so I approached the man, and I said, "What's up?" And for 10 minutes we talked, and during this talk he dropped a bomb on me. He then said, "If you're ever going to commit suicide, never let your mom be the one to find you." And at this point I was speechless. But I thought that was okay, because this man was able to open up just because a stranger was able to see that something was wrong. And he did leave that bench feeling a bit happier. I could see the smile on his face, and I was better for it. So these cards had me leave my shell, so others could leave theirs for their day to suck a little less. And people paid it forward, is what came of it. So I created a place where these stories could live. newstrangers.tumblr.com, check it out. So people could add their stories to this, and I prompted them sometimes saying, what are your good and bad impactful experiences with strangers, or what do you need to be great? Inspiring stories came of it. So it was a place to share. People let out their stories. People broke boundaries, giving hugs to other strangers. And it was also a place to be vulnerable and have other people comment and give you encouragement. So in the end, I got New Yorkers to get time out of their days and acknowledge each other. And it all started with a little card. So the potential of this right now is that the bigger the community grows of strangers, the more experiences that are shared. And in recent developments, the school is reaching out to implement this among their students upstate New York, because they had a recent falling out with some of their students and they want to rekindle their sense of community. So I want to help strangers help themselves. Thank you.